Yo, Henshaw again, you're from your local constitutional kook out here in California. And the subject matter for this video, and it's very important for you that have children in school now, is the educational crap that's going on here, especially in grades 1 to 9, with all this transgender nonsense, LGBTQ8. I mean, you name it. It's singularly inappropriate. And especially since now, when we're wasting all the time doing this, there's very little time to concentrate on the 3 R's. And a lot of schools now are complaining, especially secondary school teachers, when the kids get in there from elementary school, they have a third grade reading level or less. Now, that's a big difference for me, the baby boomer generation. And when I went to school, I had a stay at home mom, very smart, attentive, loving mom. And she read to me a lot and did some other things, and I learned a lot outside of school. And in third or fourth grade, I was probably reading at an eighth or ninth grade level because of it. That's the difference. Now we got people coming out of here, dumb as a post. And what does this say later about their qualifications to sit on a jury when you get charged with a crime? And they don't have a clue what the hell is going on. They don't know they can rule on the facts and the law, and they're going to be wide open to a directed verdict of guilt by a black robe bastard. This is what has to stop. And to do that, we have to get our schools back in gear here and actually give them, much better education than they have been. And I'll be helping out with that. I may even, if you get my materials, volunteer to do a Zoom appearance at a PTA hearing, for example, and tell them a lot of what I'm saying now. Why do you have to get back to the basics here? The hell with this other crap. Maybe appropriate in high school. I'm not even sure about that. And by the way, the big deal here is with all these transgender rights and all this crap, you have to realize the money behind it comes mostly from the New York banksters. Because all this crap arises under the War Amendments of Congress and the 14th and 15th War Amendments. And what they're saying is we're going to use federal, regional, martial law to beat down the states and beat down people that claim individual rights like we used to have at one time, and make it all so it's total military control here. That's the agenda. That's the last thing we need to be teaching kids in grades 1 to 6, and even in preschool now, for crying out loud. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And I'm sure you parents know that a lot better than I do. And I've never been one, by the way, and that goes back a long time for me, but I made decisions long before I got into what I'm doing now. But especially after I did that, I realized if I couldn't put a family first, I had no business having one. I think it was the right decision 40 odd years ago, and it still is. I'm the last of the line. I gotta love this one in Washington, D.C., my former hometown. But it's just the importance of the work I do here. By the way, a good video on this, a little bit different context, and John Adams is not hardly my favorite president, but there's a real good video on John Adams. And talking about the time he was in France with Franklin and Jefferson trying to get help there, so we could get out from under King George and establish the United States of America. Interesting subject matter. I'll talk more about that video on another tape, but it's really interesting. And the big deal there was that John Adams at the time had 4 young children. And I've got to get a book of correspondence between he and Abigail, as I don't know if she fully understood what he was doing was more important than family, which is what I just said earlier about what I'm doing. Maybe she did, I don't know, but it was very hard on the family, and they lost one of the children, and another one got cancer, probably not directly related to that. But the video is really good, and it's called John Adams, and you'll really enjoy watching it. So that said, we simply have to get back to basic, better education here, and also add meaningful and substantive curricula for the study of the Constitution, history, and laws of the United States when you do get into 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grades. That's essential for jury duty, but also essential for you to know your rights and be able to stand up and exercise them if and when the time comes. That's how important it is. If you don't, you do what I did at the age of 19. I was a lead leader, and ignorance ain't. I volunteered into the U.S. Marine Corps, at the height of the Tet Offensive in the Vietnam War. Oh, how's that for stupid? Luckily, my dear mom put a curse on the Marines and said, "You're not going to get them." And she and Dad took me over to Fort Holabird on the way to Paris Island. I never made it because the sergeant looked up, took one look at me, and says, "If you lose your glasses, how will you know who to shoot?" Because I am pretty nearsighted. So I got the shortest tour of duty in history in the Marine Corps, 15 minutes. Thinking I should apply for veterans benefits at some point in time. But that said, uh, that it was a big break that happened the way it did, and that I did get out of the Marines. And because I lost my train of thought about that. But oh, by the way, the right answer to the question when he said, "How do you know who to shoot?" Now I know the right answer. Give me an M16, point me back to Washington, D.C., the White House. Landslide Lyndon Johnson. I'll take care of it. It's one of the first things this bastard does the Monday after Kennedy gets assassinated is sign an executive order reversing his executive order, taking us out of Vietnam and putting us into it. We had no business at all being there. The subject matter for another video, which I'm going to do videos on the history of the war in the United States. And you're going to be shocked, but my sources that I have, Anthony C. Sutton is one of them, have it all in black and white, just like I do with my legal feelings. So in that regard, send me an email, youwinningcourt@gmail.com, because I leave little to the imagination with the work I do here. And it's just like Sutton does, and he can prove everything he says about how corrupt this government is and getting us into wars that we had no business being in, going all the way back to the Spanish-American War. Although he does start with the Wall Street and the Bolshevik Revolution. But yeah, you understand what really went on there, and you get really, really angry about it. So I've gotten away from the thread a little bit here. But trust me, getting your kids educated is the best thing you can do. Help them as much as you can. And the next video, we're going to be talking about maybe making the government pay up, especially if a working parent has to reduce time or quit their job to teach their kid at home because the school system isn't doing it, and or getting the bastards to pay for private school for the same reason. Public schools are so dismal these days. I can't imagine. Wow, I just can't. So that said, remember to subscribe, like the videos, tell your friends, get the word out. The quicker we stand up and take action and put these people down, the quicker things get a whole lot better for us, ourselves, and our posterity. Thank you.